Let's talk about reaction and political commentary now. Let's go to Oliver Dickson, who joins me now for that conversation. I can tell you also that in the next few minutes I'll be live in eNCA with eNCA's Siphamandla Goke. So, Oliver, I was saying there are some parallels to be drawn. In the eNCA matter, the Constitutional Court talked about former President Jacob Zuma failing to uphold, defend and respect the Constitution. Today, the Constitutional Court, in a judgment penned by the acting Chief Justice Sisi Khampepe, saying, quote, he ignored, undermined and in many ways sought to destroy the rule of law altogether. And that was just one of the many, many choice phrases and words. Have you ever heard such an extraordinary judgment in your life?
Never heard a judgment this colorful in its language. In fact, what we can dub this judgment as is a paean for justice and accountability. The choice of adjectives here were quite clear in the message it was trying to send. And I think Justice Khampepe is a fantastic writer. You can go look at all her previous judgments where she wrote the majority judgment or wrote even the unanimous judgments. She writes with very clear indication of what the court's position is. And some of the adjectives used here, scandalous, insidious, inflammatory, those adjectives are very clear in describing the behavior of former President Jacob Zuma here. And I think you and I can't disagree that that behavior fits exactly the descriptions and definitions of those words.
In fact, the words that were used to describe him, the one word that kept coming up is recalcitrant. And in fact, at some point they said, this most recalcitrant of individuals.
Yeah, no, certainly, because Jacob Zuma, and that links to, and I heard Mzwanele Manye was on the show not too long ago speaking to Annika Larson, saying that this judgment defies all logic when there are justices on the bench who disagree with the majority judgment. What do you expect the behavior of Jacob Zuma to be? And when Justice Khampepe described Jacob Zuma's recalcitrant behavior, she also spoke about the options he had on the table so that he can ensure that he's not treated unfairly in response to his recalcitrance. And she says he could have applied for an interim stay of proceedings. He chose not to. Instead, he wrote a letter to the Chief Justice outside of the proceedings, once again attacking the Constitutional Court, attacking our Constitution and democracy, and once again putting the judiciary on trial with no due course or no just cause. And I think that is indicative of the recalcitrance. And what we will see is a continuation of this sort of recalcitrance. Justice Khampepe was very clear that a prison sentence was the only fitting sanction here, because if it was a coercive sanction, that's to say that Jacob Zuma must go and appear before the State Capture Commission, or must go and appear before the relevant body, where it be a court or not, that he is likely to defy that again. So the court is of the belief that Jacob Zuma's recalcitrance is it cannot be rescued, and that his recalcitrance will continue, and therefore the only fitting punishment and sanction to that effect would be a prison sentence.
Yeah. In a moment, Oliver, I'm going to ask you to fuse your legal thinking as well as your political analysis of the situation, what this moment represents for South Africa. I mean, in mind, I'm already thinking about other parallels, right? You remember the situation with the former Brazilian president, that's Lula Inácio da Silva, when he was now supposed to report to start serving his sentence, and how his supporters simply said, this is not going to happen. But in the end, he ended up going to serve a time in prison. But I will pause that for a moment, Oliver, because I want to bring into this conversation, so don't go away, I want to bring into this conversation eNCA's Siphamandla Goke, who